The At Home Show. Bam, bam, bam.
Live from the Green Room Studios, from the spacious property of Bates Nursery and Garden Center, 3810 Whites Creek Pike, it's the At Home Show with Josh Cary and David Bates.
Hey, welcome in, everybody. It is the At Home Show. It's Saturday morning. It means it's time to learn about gardening, home improvement issues, and where better to do so with the At Home Show. I'm Josh Cary. David Bates. Oh, wait a minute. David.
What happened?
Oh, that's right. David's on the IR. He's having a little maintenance work done on the ocular socket. So David won't be with us today. So that's okay. We've got the rest of the crew, the At Home Show crew. Tyler's over there. Carrie's over there. Austin's over there.
Good morning.
We're all here for you. We're going to answer your questions because I'm sure we've got a bunch of them. We're going to start off with the weather, though, just
That's
like we
right.
always do.
So here we go.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Good job.
It's going to be a great day here in Whites Creek, Tennessee. That's right. Right now it's about 47 degrees at the Bates Nursery weather station. Today we'll have some AM showers and some drizzliness. Then we're going to be warming up to 52, hopefully seeing a little bit of rays of sunshine.
Yep.
But tomorrow, Sunday, looking like a great day, 69 and feeling fine, 42 for the low. Pushing out to Monday, beginning our week, 74. Let's go. Bring the heat. Partly cloudy, too, so you won't get too sunburned. Continuing down the line, we got 71, 65. We got a little bit of rain coming in there. Cooling off a little bit. Back to the weekend again. Well, you'll see us at the At Home Show next Saturday. 61 degrees, going to be a good, looking like a good spring weather pattern.
That 40,
here,
that
right?
44 is starting to disturb me. So I mean, if you know how this works, you're responsible for the weather for all next week now, Tyler, because you ordered it. I mean, you said that it was going to happen, so it's all good. But folks, it is the At Home Show. We cover a wide range of topics. Man, it's your show, so join us. Cary, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Great. How are you, Josh?
Are you up and you got your bright sunshiny face on this morning?
Yeah, I feel like these golden mops in front of us make us look even brighter. So, wow.
Who's that beside you?
I think that's Austin Lowen right
Hello.
there.
Hello.
Yay.
Good morning.
All right, we're going to start off right quick, and we're going to ask Austin, what's blooming, man?
What's in bloom around town? I drove through this morning and was looking. I was getting my bearings for the show today. First things first, the biggest one that's in bloom right now is
Don't
your
say it.
favorite,
Oh,
Bradford pear.
yay. Josh just loves those.
You know, those Bradford pears, they get a bad rap, and they should.
They should, yes.
They really should. They're a pretty invasive plant. They break really easily, but they were planted extensively in the 90s, and they're still out there today, and you can see them all over the place. And you certainly see them down people's driveways. That's one of the biggest
The dreaded driveway.
Yes, applications for Bradford pear. And they're in full show right now. But what you also see is out in the woods
Yes.
and out in open fields, a lot of white blooming plants out there. And you wonder, what are those? They're Bradford pear that have escaped the landscape and reseeded and starting to bloom in those fields. And me and Tyler actually had a little bit of a conversation yesterday with a customer about some Bradford pear and what kind of is the problem with them and why they're such a big deal. And that is the reason. It's that they escape into our native woods and they cast shade to all those other little seedlings that want to sprout up from our native trees, you know, our hickories, our maples and oaks, all of those ones that live here naturally, whereas Bradford pear does not. So that's kind of the problem with Bradford pear, and we're one of the forefront most people that decide we're not gonna sell Bradford pear.
Haven't
anymore.
for a
So-
long time.
No, probably over 20 years. I'd say David decided we're not gonna sell those anymore. But at any rate, they are in full show right now, pretty much, and they're actually a really pretty tree. We got to at least say that. Whenever they're up and they're nice, they are pretty. They've got good fall color.
We don't have to.
We don't have to, but
Yeah,
But you did.
they are up and
did.
pretty.
I did.
Yeah, that's true.
So some other ones that are in bloom. Let's get off Bradford pear. Done with that. Some perennials that are in bloom right now. Let's talk about that. We've got actually in the studio in front of you, Josh, right now. We got Candy Tuft that's blooming white. That's a nice little evergreen perennial. Great little front border to a bed. There's a really pretty. I really like Candy Tuft. It's a good versatile plant. And then also the pink stuff right out in front of you is called Creeping Phlox, and it is in bloom right now. That's an old school perennial. Been around forever. You see it popping up in lawns, along front borders, like I talked about. Those are in bloom right now. So
that was the mailbox plant for the longest time.
Definitely.
So
yeah. Just creeps across the ground kind of slowly. It's not like a really vigorous grower or anything. It's slow to kind of creep, but it will creep across the ground, and it returns every year without a problem. It just kind of shows up and starts blooming, and you're like, oh, nice. It's spring. So that's another one that's in bloom. I also noticed Forsythia is still in bloom. The last week's frost freeze scenario did not really hurt Forsythia all that bad. It's still out, looking good, blooming yellow, big old shrubs. And then also this week I noticed the first sign of quince, our flowering quince. It just started to show up. Yep, it's a nice little not purple, pinkish, reddish blooming plant, and it just kind of started to come out. So those are a few things in bloom.
Awesome. Now, again, we hear that there is a business going on here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center.
It's already.
That was my radio.
That sounds good. But it's an amazing time because this cool nights with these warm, moist days, it really is popping a lot of things. Now, let's don't get away from the Bradfords just yet.
Okay.
But again, there are states in the union that have banned the sale. I believe South Carolina is one. I think North Carolina may be on that list as well. But it is the last one. It's got some decent fall color. It's the last one to drop its leaves. I know that the people that remove leaves they're slimy and nasty and slippery and wet. But what is a good replacement for one? Should somebody decide to join the Bradford Pear Eradication Society? We're having a membership drive this morning, too,
That's exactly it.
So,
we got a shout out, too. Good morning from McMinnville. Lots of BP, which I assume is Bradford Pear.
Well, they know better than to say those two words in the same sentence.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's not McMinnville. If you're from there, it's McMinnville.
McMinnville, yeah.
McMinnville.
We got a couple trucks from McMinnville this week.
Oh, so
with
many.
a whole lot of trees on it.
And there were a bunch of those. They were propagated quite extensively in McMinnville. I would hate to see what the hills and the hollows look around down there.
I'm sure they're all over.
Brentwood. If you go through Brentwood, it was the state tree, David called of Brentwood for many years. But in its place where they want that driveway look, what would you suggest?
If you like white, which is what they bloom, Yoshino cherry is a nice kind of similar plant for that. Also, while I'm talking about Yoshino cherries are about to light up. It'll probably be later next week. I would assume they're going to light up. They can handle full sun just fine. They don't have any fall color to speak of. They drop their leaves early. But if you like a really pretty show with a nice kind of small growing tree, but still a nice wide kind of outward branching habit. Great for a driveway scenario. If you like a more formal look, there's a plant that nobody really knows about that's fantastic if you ask me, and it's called Styrax. That's the genus of the plant. Japanese snowbell is the common name. It's a really pretty plant that's good. It's a small growing plant, 25 foot. It's about what you're going to get with somewhat of an equal spread, 15 to 20 foot wide. But great for it's a very formal. It has a very formal branching habit. And it blooms either white or pink, depending on which variety you choose, and really does well for a driveway scenario too. So cool plant you ought to check out that not a lot of people know about.
Well, the Yoshinos are a little bit maintenance. You got to take care of them a little bit more than it sounds like you would that other one that you were talking about. Now it's called a blossom, but what kind of bush did you say it was?
It's Styrax is the genus. Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of sounds like a Dr. Seuss word in a book, but a Japanese snowbell is a common name. It's got tiny little white or pink blooms, but there's millions of them. So it's a cool little plant. Like I said, not a lot of people know about.
But the Yoshino, they branch from the ground. The Yoshinos, don't they? Don't they grow up from the base? So you get some runners.
Well, a lot of not necessarily.
Really?
No, not too much. Most of the growers now are at least limbing them up at least to about 3 to 4 feet, and then you get your spread. But it is a nice wide spreading tree, if you will. It's almost just as wide as it is tall, if not more. So plan for that. If you are going to put it down your driveway, at least give it 10 to 15 feet of space on either side of your driveway to let that spread kind of take off. But whenever they're in full show and you're driving down a row of cherry trees, there's not much like it out there.
Absolutely, and it's a better choice than a BP.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because they're always fun after they split. And they lay down, and then people want to save the other half. And they smell so good as you walk down the street. What do they smell like, Tyler?
Oh,
David won't say it.
Maybe I can't say it either.
Okay.
It's a little.
There's no FCC rules on YouTube, is there?
Yeah.
Or Facebook or.
It smells kind of funky.
Funky.
Yeah.
Earthy.
Spunky.
Yeah.
Cherry blossoms smell much better.
Yes, they do. All right, Caroline, do we have any questions?
We don't.
We don't. No questions.
Just kidding. We have so many questions this
because we didn't get finished last week. I don't think
we didn't. So if there's time, we can take it into last week's questions. Which, by the way, if we miss answering your questions live, we will try to cover it the next week. But we always post short little video clips in our stories, both on the Bates page and the At Home Show page, so you can always tune in to get your answer. All right. Well, this is a good one.
Okay.
Will you recommend a flowering vine for an area that gets 2 to 3 hours of sun?
All right. Clematis. Clematis is a go-to for a full sun or fairly deep shade. I've seen it in both scenarios, and I've seen them flower in both scenarios profusely. Clematis is an excellent little vine. It's a non-vigorous vine. It only gets, 6 to 8 feet tall, maybe in a season if you're lucky. It's not something that's just going to run and go wild and take over. So it's like I said, it's nice.
The blooms are stunning.
Blooms are huge. For the most part, blooms are huge. They're hybridizing these clematis like crazy too. So you're getting really fantastic colors all the way from pure white to almost true blue, red in between. Purples, there's all sorts, but for 2 to 3 hours of sun, clematis is almost perfect for that. And we sell a ton of them here at the nursery. We've got a few right now, and I was looking at some. I'm actually in the market for some clematis. I need 2 more to kind of fill an area. I'm still racking my brain on what colors I'm going to go with.
Do you already have one?
I do have one.
How did it do last year?
Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually
I killed mine.
We had the evergreen kind.
We did have the evergreen kind. Tyler and I were talking about it yesterday, in fact.
Yep.
I neglected mine. I put it in a bad spot, and it's gone.
You sure?
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
she knows.
Mine
know.
just
I
started
can sense
cracking
it.
back. Mine's a deciduous type, so it lost all its leaves, which is fine. But it's starting to return now from the stems and the ground. Actually, that's what clematis will kind of do. It'll return from the ground, but it'll also return from the stems, and just a nice performer.
Do you have it on a trellis or an arbor?
I do. It's
Okay.
a small little trellis that's kind of in the ground. I'm going to run 2 more up my steps. I really want the railing of my steps as you enter my home to be full of clematis. So I need 2
Sounds
more.
lovely.
So you'll train it and kind of just move it up and let it run.
Just let it kind of creep up the railings of the porch stem or steps.
Porch stem.
porch
That
stem.
works too. We got trees on the brain. It's spring, so.
I've got all sorts of plants on the brain. It's amazing, y'all. It is spring. It's all I think about. It's all of us think about.
We are inundated with just beautiful looking things coming in
It is.
It's an
It's
exciting
every week
time.
now.
How many trucks did we get in this week here?
We got a beer truck in. I was here
We
on
did
Tuesday.
get a beer truck in,
They
yes.
brought it in on a
Full
beer truck.
of boxwoods.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
100
Okay.
boxwoods, green velvet, the
So
goat.
many.
Very
But no,
good.
we had 8 trucks in a day. No, was it 7?
It was 7.
I think it was
7.
7.
I'm
They were
exaggerating.
counting a pallet truck. as
Okay,
8,
yeah.
So.
Other than that, we had 7 plant trucks come in. One being a full semi-load of trees. So we had our hands full this week. Well, a very, very big day. That was Thursday.
That was Thursday.
Yeah.
That was a big one. We're
It was
all
just
feeling
one
it.
after the other. I think there were 4 trucks lined up at one time, just waiting.
Yeah. It was.
That's a good problem to have.
It is.
Yeah, it really is. Now, as I was coming in, because you have some huge trees that have got a pink ribbon wrapped around them. They're about 12 or 15 down the back driveway there. Are they promised to somebody, or they just haven't been put out on the lot yet?
Nope, they are promised.
Oh.
That is a little feature here at Bates. You can come talk to one of us, and we can maybe get you a special order if you have something that you really, really want. And this specific customer wanted how many? 20?
It was a lot.
It's 24. 24 30-gallon Autumn Blaze maple. It's 30 gallons, about as big as we go. And they came from Black Fox Farms. Shout out to them out in Cleveland, Tennessee, which we get a lot of trees and shrubs from. And they're they're a good little grower, but they specifically grow Autumn Blaze maples very, very well. Specifically in that 30-gallon size. So this customer is going to line his driveway.
I was just about to make that suggestion. That sounds like the way to go.
Yep, he is. He's going to line his driveway with these maples. Like I said, 24 of them.
They're already from the, again, they already look to be at least 12 or 15 feet tall.
They're 12 feet tall, easy.
Okay.
Yeah, once they're planted, they're 12 footers. So nice little addition to your driveway. Get them in, and they're going to look good right off the rip. So good choice for that guy. Thank you for doing that. And shout out actually to Dempsey's Landscaping, which is my younger brother, who has been in business now for over a year. He's been in the plant world as long as I have. He's very good at what he does. He's actually going to pick these plants up and plant them for that guy. So,
awesome. Very
shout
good.
out, Trav, man.
Very, very good. What else you got over there?
All right. Do I need to prune my fig tree? I'm going to assume they're talking about an outside fruiting fig tree. Kind of sad David's not here. I know he loves to talk about.
David loves his fig.
He does love his fig.
They're amazing.
They are amazing. I love mine. I have 3. They're
So,
I'm going to make it. My brown turkey. I have always, usually this time of the year, I will go back in and just take it down to about 24 inches tall, what's left. If, again, it pasting. But I don't think I'm going to do it this year. I think I'm going to trim back to about 5 feet tall just to see what happens. Because I think even with the winter and the last little blast of cold that we had, I think I might have been making a mistake letting that, because I always see the first growth come from the ground. I think I might have made a mistake in saying that all of those stems and stalks are dead.
yeah.
So-
You want to leave as many sticks and stems up as you can, because that's
Okay.
where the best fruiting wood is going to come from if it's going to come back from
Right.
that. We had a pretty cold winter this year. If you're out, if your fig is out in the open and out with a lot of wind and cold and all that, you may not get growth back from those stems. So wait till spring at least to see what happens before you prune. Now, if you have to prune because it's too big and it's in a spot where it's messing you up, then certainly prune it to get it out of your way. But if you can, leave those sticks up as much as you can, because that's where you're going to get regrowth from if you do it all.
It's kind of like a haircut. You can always take some more off too, right?
Yeah, you always can. And if you see in the spring that it only comes back from the roots and it does not come back from the stems at all, then obviously you're going to cut back those stems after and just let that new growth from the roots come up and fill in the plant. But if you can, leave those sticks up, because that's where you're going to get the best fruiting stems from.
Tyler, we had a question about your clematis, and Jude wants to know how hard are they to transplant?
Well, Jude, I am about to do that very thing. Stay tuned. That's all I can say, because I haven't done it yet. I'm going to move it into a shadier spot on the side of my house. I kind of planted it on the corner of the east-south part of my house. It did well. This is the first year that I had it in, but it didn't grow as much. It had some new growth, and then it kind of got burned back. So I'm wondering, was it getting too much sun? I don't think it ever bloomed. Was it getting established? That's kind of where I'm at with it right now.
But the actual physical transplanting, it wouldn't be any harder than moving anything else, would it?
No, I mean,
Okay.
if you dig up enough soil around it and it's rooted in, you shouldn't have any problems whatsoever.
Okay.
Get as much root as you can and get it in the next hole as quick as you can.
And also doing it during this time of year when it's cooler, less stressful, it's going to go a long way as well.
David's tip is always to dig the hole where you're going to put it first and then dig the plant up. Now, are they shallow rooted, or do they put like a tap root down?
No,
or-
they're not a real deep rooted
I think
plant.
they're
No.
pretty shallow. I remember when I planted them, I was like, ugh, I need to get this in here pretty good. Press it into the soil at the top.
There's a lot of literature out there too about how clematis, it typically likes to have shaded roots. So if it's in a full sun environment and it's like in a, say you got it in maybe rock, like pea gravel or something, a type of bed like that, if it's really, really hot, I've read a lot about how clematis does not perform well in that type of scenario. So
My mother-in-law had one that was absolutely beautiful, and she always told me to keep. She always kept its feet cool.
yeah, there's a lot I've read about that. So
Yeah, that's
good to know.
one reason why I'm transplanting. I want to move it over to where the corner of my fence on the side of the yard of my house will shade it more at the root, and then it can grow up on top of the fence and get more of that sun throughout the morning. So that's a good strategy.
Cool.
Very good. Now, the one of the keys to that, and if we can segue into something else here, one of the keys with any of the transplanting or new plantings is to use a very good product. And if you'll look right behind Austin and Cary's head, there is there's a sign, and that's the one you need to look for when you're out and about to find the Earth Mix garden products, because it is the finest soil. I use it exclusively at my house, and there's a broad range of amendments. There are broad ranges of soils. There's a broad range of indoor, outdoor. You have all the other things that you're going along, and then supernatural compost. You got that right now. Oh man, you talk about putting it in on your raised beds or even in your garden.
That's exactly what I did.
I went over the top and tilled it all in, and everything's great to go. Now you can get it in bags. It's widely available around Middle Tennessee. If you go to earthmix.net, you can find it by going to the Find Earth Mix tab. I noticed that I was looking at it before the show. If you wanted to become a dealer for Earth Mix, there's a way that you can contact the Earth Mix people, so you can get into the family of Earth Mix products, and everybody will talk about you once a week at least and bring things for you. But it is a fine product. You can, when you open the bag, you know you've got something good there, because it's deep, rich colors, and it just smells so good. You guys want to add anything to that at all?
Just Earth Mix has recently updated their vendor page.
Oh my goodness.
So now you can tab over and see per state what cities Earth Mix is available in.
You can go up into Kentucky, and since you're not watching basketball in Kentucky this weekend, you might as well get out in the garden and get you some Earth Mix and get some things going.
We're in Louisville and Lexington, Elizabethton.
Lexington, they're absolutely not doing anything this week. So
Yeah.
I think it's good.
And of course, all over Middle Tennessee, there's an incredible amount of places that carry Earth Mix. All really quality, independent garden centers, and they're great folks. They know their stuff too. They know that Earth Mix is a great product.
Absolutely. All right. But use it, and you absolutely get you a bag before you put it and mix it in when you're doing your transplant. You're gonna start out at least with an advantage, because success begins at the ground level, not the garden level. It's the ground level.
Also for indoor.
Oh yes, the indoor.
Proganics Eye, which I love. I think right at this time last year, I brought in 2 plants, Blue Star Fern. I mean, it was 2 of the same plant, and I had grown one in the Proganics Eye and one in just a big box store indoor mix. I can't remember what it was. And the amount of growth that had pushed out of the Earth Mix, Proganics Eye, as opposed to the other one, was amazing. Do you guys remember that? It was,
Yes.
I
It was way
transplanted
more
them
lush.
at the same time, and I'll have to put a picture up on our page. I can probably go back and find it. But
Last year in the above ground garden, I had dill that was 6 feet tall.
6
no kidding.
feet.
No
That's
kidding.
a monster.
Yes. I mean, when it finally went
Mega
up,
deal.
it was good stuff
Mega
too.
dill.
All righty. Let's go back to the questions, will
Okay.
you? Since we've got a bunch.
Here we go. Sounds like an Austin question. How to care for a neglected magnolia that had all of its fresh fall pruned buds frostbit?
Well, good news and bad news.
Oh,
There's nothing bad that you did. Unfortunately, I'm assuming you're talking about deciduous magnolias, because those are the ones that bloom right now. All deciduous magnolias in Middle Tennessee got whacked. Absolutely whacked this last week. So that we had a hard freeze whenever they were in full bloom. Nothing you can do about that. I mean, if it was a small enough tree, you could have maybe covered it to kind of help out and extend that bloom period. But unfortunately, that's the problem with deciduous magnolias. They're fantastic whenever they're in bloom. Everyone notices them. They're literally like the very first sign of spring. And when they're in bloom, they're great. We all love them. But we get cold snaps in March. It's just how it is. So we had a night. What was the nighttime low? We get 17 or something
yeah,
like that?
Smyrna, yeah.
17 is no go for flowers. So nothing is wrong with your plant. Your flowers are dead. That's it for the season. Sorry, we had a few days to look at them and they were pretty. But the leaves are going to emerge really soon, and your plant is going to be plenty healthy. There's nothing going to be wrong with it. It's just part of it.
Yep.
It's part of gardening in Middle Tennessee.
We got a gift last year with the longer blooms.
Mm-hmm. It all depends on weather. Like I said, it has nothing to do with you, and you don't have to care any more special for your plant. It, like I said, it's going to re-leaf out, and it's going to be just fine. But flowers were whacked. Sorry.
Yep. Mine got whacked. It was sad.
You got a pretty one too.
I do have a pretty one. It's still.
It's not pretty anymore, is it?
Speaking of pretty
To
ones,
say it's still pretty.
speaking
but
of the pretty ones, these, and it would be a much better choice than a Bradford. What? And I can't. I almost did it. I almost did it.
You said it.
I'm gonna mute you.
Okay. The
do it.
these two weeping cherries we have up here by the big screen are stunning.
Oh yes,
Now
those are Snow Fountains Weeping Cherry by Monrovia.
and they've already got blooms on them. So I mean,
do.
but
They were grown elsewhere, though. That's a big thing we have to talk about around here. Is that we received yesterday? We received echinacea, which is coneflowers. We all know it's a nice late spring summer bloomer. We got them in yesterday in bloom. So y'all have to know that a lot of these plants are grown elsewhere, different parts of the country. They're also grown in greenhouses to where they can
Even warmer.
where they can, mimic, more late spring to summer temperatures. So they can get these plants up and blooming a lot quicker than what they would here. We do not have any weeping cherries that are in bloom in Middle Tennessee right now.
No.
Now, like I said, by the end of next week, I would assume we would probably see some depending on the temperature. But yeah, those are in full show right now. Look fantastic.
You're amazing.
They're really pretty. Yeah.
how long will the blooms stay?
It depends on the
Normally,
weather
yeah.
once again,
Okay.
but usually, I mean, weeping cherry actually, and most cherries will last at least 3 weeks to a month. You can at least expect, sometimes 2 weeks, 2 weeks to a month. You can expect, but
Unless we get a real guster
yeah, unless
of a
something bad
storm
happens.
that'll blow the blooms off. my
Sounds sad.
my plum tree is still rocking the blooms. Typically they start dropping, and some of them have, but it has been solid, like white, all the way up and down the limbs, and somehow that crazy micro winter freeze did not affect them
Really?
At all? Wow.
at all.
It didn't turn brownish.
Because I know you
at
were
all?
worried.
No, nothing turned brown.
Huh.
I don't know what happened.
That's very interesting. It's funny you say that because I pass a lot of plum trees. Plum trees are one of the first to bloom of all the fruit trees that we grow around here. You could probably have seen small-ish
Yes.
trees blooming white. Those are your plum trees, and I've seen some that got affected, certainly, like where it knocked the blooms down to almost all of them. And then I have noticed some that the white blooms are still up. So it's just little, like you said, little microclimate pockets that stay a little warmer or not as windy, whatever it may be. But some of the plums are good. TY, I'm glad yours is.
I do think that I did some work amending my soil where those trees are planted. I added lots of raw material to break down and make kind of a loose compost, so it's not compacted as much. I think that has affected how much the soil absorbs water and holds water, and I think that might have made the difference
Yeah.
somewhat.
Hey, have you pruned your peach tree yet?
No, man,
Man,
we got to do that.
we got it. Yeah. Is it starting to leaf or flower, or is it starting to bud?
Is this a
It's
project
budding.
that you guys got going on?
It
the side
is.
here?
Well,
Okay.
Last year you can view a Bates Botanical Boot Camp of Austin pruning my peach tree.
Yes.
And it was a labor of love. He really put his all into it. I got some great shots of him just like staring really hard and concentrating at the tree, choosing which limb to chop off.
I love pruning trees.
After he did it though, it produced so much fruit, and he was thinking, I don't know if it's gonna, it might not do much. The thing was loaded, and that also has to do with weather as well. But it really made a difference.
You got to open it up. You got to get sunlight on the interior of that plant. Crucial.
Now, did you say you had prolific peaches in Middle Tennessee?
I mean, yeah, it was loaded. Like branches were loaded. I'd have to thin it out basically to keep the branches from breaking. That's how many we had. So many, in fact, that I learned about a condition called brown rot, which happens if the fruit
Touches.
touch. Yes. And so if, I didn't thin out nearly enough. And so when they got ripe, they quickly started, they went past go. and directly to rot and mummify on the tree. And if those produce spores, and then it just keeps spreading. So make sure to thin your fruit out, your buds. Otherwise, you will see that issue on those trees.
And you can pick them a little bit green too. So
They'll ripen on the counter. Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, we had another question from the Facebook page.
All right.
And this one is in regards to turf from Diane Gill. And she has yellow spots in her yard. Wants to know if the army worms are already out.
No.
I don't know.
Not this time of year.
No.
No, insects aren't out yet. Yellow spots could be something else. I don't know if it's little
I would be
patches of
wondering if
Bermuda.
you have large dogs. Would be one of the things that I would be thinking about, or you have neighborhood dogs that happen to come just stroll in by, and you know how dogs do.
Are you saying they drop in something?
They fertilize in one form or fashion or another, but could be that. I mean, you could have all kinds of. You could have some pests in there, but it could be just a little early. We don't know whether or not she's got it sounds like a fescue lawn to me, but it's, and I think it's another one of those spring things that you'd have to look out with. Again, pre-emergence, if you've got weeds, now's the time. Actually, you're probably a little bit late in a lot of places, but just see what's going on with it, and good organic fertilizer. Now, fertilizer is going to get expensive this year, folks. I don't know if you guys have seen it on the bag goods and the stuff that you sell here at the garden center, but there are reports of fertilizer for some places being up 500%. So be judicious, watch the bag instructions and see what's going on. If you're local, I don't know where Diane's from, but if you're local, old friends of the show, go see the folks at Dickens Turf and Landscape and take some pictures over there, and they'll diagnose it for you for sure.
It might be just as simple as a patch of Bermuda.
Yep.
Bermuda's yellow right now.
It could be. It
Yeah.
could be a whole bunch of things.
My lawn is as spotty as it gets with fescue / crabgrass / clover / onion /
Yeah.
Bermuda.
You have the
My
Heinz
lawn looks
57 lawn.
Yes, it's all together. Hey, once you cut it though, it looks all green.
It smells
In the
good
summer.
too.
Yeah,
There it
does.
is.
I'm waiting for that.
Hey, funny enough, you say that, Josh. Monrovia's sales rep, Brent, is our sales rep here for the Southeast, and nice guy. But he told us yesterday about how Monrovia is the largest, plant producer in the country. They got 4 different locations across the country. Excellent grower of plants. Their quality is top notch. They told us how much their fertilizer prices went up. That's why their plants are a little bit pricier this year as well. It's just, to keep those plants looking good, fertilizer is needed. And they said that the cost of it just astronomically went up. So that's why you're seeing a little price increase in the plants too. If you want the same quality, you're going to have to pay for it.
Yep. Start, it's not a miracle, folks. It's just fertilizer. I mean, even though it's blue and it looks really good, be careful with using it and watch your stuff and use it judiciously. I mean, you use it as you need it. And there are all kinds of home remedies that you can come up with. I've heard that for tomatoes, you're supposed to soak your used banana peels for 24 hours in water with the banana peels. It's worth a try. I mean, I can't see that it would hurt anything, but and do it as naturally as you possibly can.
Yeah, and don't overdo it
Right.
if you don't have to. If you got a tree, say, that you planted 5 years ago that's getting up to be 10, 12, 15 feet tall, and you say, well, I need to come in and fertilize it. Probably not. I mean, most trees, our soil is actually pretty dang good here. We're pretty nutrient rich. So if a tree's tapped in and it's looking good and you think I just need to fertilize it just because, typically you don't. So, just be mindful of that.
If you look in the bottom of a lot of these container grown stuff, and I'm talking as a consumer here, you'll see that there are remnants of there are a certain amount of fertilizer that comes with the plant in many, many cases.
Always. Every
Yeah.
single pot you ever buy at the nursery is going to have some fertilizer in the top of it. Those little beads of green, beads of yellow that you see, those are all fertilizer.
And it's a slow release, so you
is.
probably don't have to do anything this year for
no,
folks.
you typically don't. Yeah.
Yep.
All righty. What else we got from Instagram?
All right. This is more of a Bates question,
Okay.
but it's an easy one. Will you guys be selling any heirloom tomato plants?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
baby.
Of course.
We will.
Probably about
Someday.
20, 30 different varieties of them.
We've started getting some tomato plants in. I don't think I've seen any heirloom yet,
Not
but
yet.
they will be coming.
But the better boys and the early girls, they're probably popping and they're going to be ready. But it's still a little too cool to put those out.
Yeah, those are some
Absolutely.
hybrids too. I mean, there's nothing wrong with hybrids. Hybrids are going to really give
Yep.
you a great yield for sure. But when it comes to the heirloom types, they are funky looking tomatoes typically. But man,
I
flavor,
love 'em. They're the best.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And Diane commented again. She said that they're fescue, no dog, spots all over. You could have a critter in there. We're pretty positive it's probably not the army worms yet.
No, it's
So-
certainly not armyworm yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know for sure it's not
Yeah.
that.
No, they wreak their havoc later in the season.
So
last
once
year.
again, take it. Just go out there with your bulb planter, go down and take a plug out of it. Take it to your local Dickens, and they'll figure it out for you. A lot of good places out there, but Dickens they're our old friends.
Yeah, or Diane, send us a picture if you can. Let us look at it. That helps out me.
info@batesnursery.com, or you can message the At Home Show or Bates Nursery pages on Facebook.
I'm interested now. I'd like to see it.
Yep. We'll take a closer look.
Figure that out. All right.
Okay.
Moving on to the next
As long as it's
question.
all over and
No,
not,
not
I
yet.
mean, at least it's uniform. So I mean,
There you go.
I'm picking on you, Diane.
All right. Leave Diane alone.
Okay.
All right. On to our next question. All things vegetable garden. When to plant, best veggies for Nashville, all the things.
Oh.
All the
Oh,
things.
here we go.
Okay, let me just tell you what I've got in my
Yeah.
raised bed right now, because that
Mm-hmm.
kind of helps. I've got broccoli, I've got chard, I've got spinach, I've got lettuce that includes romaine and also spring mix.
Yes.
I've also got, I mean, you could continue on with cauliflower. Might be getting
Brussels.
a little, what? Brussels sprouts?
Brussels,
Brussels.
kale.
You can try Brussels. I've tried them so many times.
They're
and
not
I-
Really?
great
Have you
here.
not had?
They
I've
don't do
grown
well
them
here.
once. They did okay.
They're okay here.
I
They're
got-
not great.
The last time I tried them, I got these tiny little boogers on the stalk. These little booger
sounds
nubs.
real gross.
And that's as big as it got. And I even
Did you eat your boogers?
I
What he's
did-
re-
no.
what he's referring to is the actual
Real
Brussels
Brussels
sprouts. They
sprouts.
grow
Yes.
along the stem. Yes.
It is a
It was
cool
the word
looking
he chose
plant.
to use.
If you've gone into a sprouts market, you can see entire stalks of Brussels sprouts that they haven't picked, but that's how they look off the plant.
And it
It's
grows
called
in
roast alien.
and it grows it right up the middle of the plant. They're cool. They're
Yes.
cool.
But I would steer more towards broccoli and cauliflower. I think they do pretty decently here. Carrots is a good time to get them in. Make sure you plant them in really loose, rich soil, because you'll have a hard time growing them in the clay in the ground.
Yep.
But then
Potatoes, you can plant those now.
potatoes need to be planted. Potatoes
Yes.
and onions.
Yep.
I've done the
About the same
romaine
time.
and the spring mix. I've put in 2 different varieties of radishes because I love radishes, and then I'm going to try it this year for the first time, elephant garlic.
Yes.
So
That was growing in my yard when I got my house, and it's great. Huge, huge heads of garlic.
I keep that
Yes.
stupid squirrel out of it.
Now, what Tyler's referring to is all of our cold crop veggies.
Right.
That's
So those are the
right.
ones that we do now or already have started. Coming up, though, typically tax day, April 15th. We talk about that being our planting date, anywhere from April 15th to May 1st. I'm more of a May guy. I kind of just wait because I know we can get a late freeze. I don't want to deal with that, have to cover stuff up or anything. So typically in May 1st is when I kind of want to get stuff out, and that's whenever you get all your real good fruit. Tomatoes, peppers, corn, beans,
Squash.
zucchini, cucumber.
Also, a
All of
big indicator is paying attention to the average nightly temperatures. If they're going to be above 55 degrees, that means that the soil is going to get warm enough to be able to support those summer growing plants. Otherwise, you won't see very much growth, even if you plant them out right now.
Yeah, exactly. And especially with like corn and beans and say okra and those things that you do from seed, typically you're going to plant those from seed rather than buying plants already up. Way more cost effective. The soil's got to be warm enough for those seeds to even germinate. So, like I said, I'm a May guy. You can get tomatoes and peppers and some of those other transplants out earlier, but when it comes to beans and corn, you want to kind of wait and sow those whenever ground temperatures are up.
Peppers like it hot too.
Peppers like it hot. They don't move until it's hot.
I mean,
And then it gets hot and they move.
doesn't the soil have to be like 70 something?
It's for them to
degrees?
really go.
Yeah, that's why people recommend heat mats or putting them on top of a warm appliance like the top of your refrigerator to get them germinating, because otherwise they can be kind of difficult. You might not get perfect germination.
Yeah, but if you're starting peppers from seed specifically, they're a at least 2-week germination rate plant. So you have to wait at least that long, and you got to make sure the soil temp's up there, like you said, to get them up. So, and then plenty of light once they are up. If you are starting any of this stuff inside, you got to know they've got to have plenty of sunlight as seedlings to really make a nice plant.
Get yourself a grow bulb, put it real close to the soil, a
Close as
few
you can
inches
get it.
away, and then just keep that bulb as they grow as close as possible. I think within a couple of inches, and that will ensure the sturdy stems and get you some successful plants.
I mean, you people don't realize. You think if you put that light that close to those plants that it's going to burn them. No, it's probably not. They really, really need the light. Oh, folks, but if you want to get it from seed, you can get seeds at Bates Nursery and Garden Center.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
You can get bulbs at Bates Nursery and Garden Center.
Yes.
You can get elephant garlic at Bates Nursery and Garden Center, because I did. If you want indoor plants, you can get those here too. It's 0.9 miles north of Briley Parkway at exit 19. You need to come to the nursery and see what's new and exciting. You can come, 7 days a week now.
That's right.
You're going to be 9 to 4 on during the week, and Saturday and Sunday 12 to 4. So you can come out here and visit. I happened to have a day off last Tuesday, and I came out on a Tuesday afternoon. It was pleasant. Folks were unloading trucks, beer truck full of boxwoods. It was the coolest thing I've seen in a long time. But we walked around and went back to Miss Cary's area. When I say we, it was myself and my daughter, and she was amazed. She lives in Chattanooga, and she loves this place. She's been coming out here since she was a little girl. But she took home 2 beautiful plants. She got a
flamingo.
No, that was what Josh got.
Oh, you got that.
I got those for my bride. And 2 huge new shrubs, because we bought 2 last year. Thought I should have probably bought the 4, but she took home 2. I don't even remember
She got a Cebu Blue pothos, which we got that in for the first time ever here at Bates Nursery.
She had
last
that
week.
on.
Oh yeah,
she had one
those
of those.
are hard to find.
They have been hard to find, but they're becoming more available. So I know she had that one, Josh.
And she picked that one, and then she had a Johnny Fishbone fern or cactus.
Oh, a zigzag cactus.
Zigzag cactus. Okay.
Or a fishbone cactus. Yeah.
And
I liked what you called it, though I immediately forgot. But
okay, but Johnny Fishbone, and
There it
again,
is.
that's she names her plants too, so it's kind of genetic.
The
But
Cary legacy.
we do things here at Bates Nursery and Garden Center. Picked up some earth mix while we were out here. Just had a pleasant time. And you walked a lot and just look at all the amazing stuff that you see all the capital improvements that they've made and they're continuing to make here at Bates Nursery. And you got the great crew. So, I mean, everybody's friendly and lovely. And you see a puppy dog. Every time you come, you're going to be able to meet a friendly puppy. So come out Monday through Saturday, 9 to 4. 12 to 4 on Sunday now, so 7 days a week. It's 1 mile north of Briley Parkway at exit 19, and we're there in your Emerald year. Since 1933, they've been doing business in Nashville.
32 even.
yeah.
1932.
1932.
Yep.
Alrighty.
Well, speaking of Tuesday, though,
Tuesday.
I think Tuesday was a big day for somebody in this room. Am I wrong? What was it, Josh?
It was a day off in the middle of the week.
It was
in
a
the
day off in
springtime.
the middle of the week. And also Josh's birthday.
Yeah.
Yay. Happy late birthday, Josh.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Oh, boy. But speaking of the variety, we have a lot of stuff that we haven't talked about in the studio this morning that is available here at Bates Nursery. So what have you got in front of you?
Me?
Yeah, you.
I've got gold mop cypress in front of me. I used these this week.
It looks like you guys are just chilling behind a hedgerow.
We are just hanging
It's
out.
a very good hedge planting if you want something that gets about 8 feet tall. This is the most commonly misplanted plant I think I've ever seen. People will buy their hollies or their boxwoods, put them up against the house, and then they'll put gold mops out in front of them. Bad choice. This is a contractor special, if you will, because they look small now. Means nothing. This plant gets big, like really big. It gets to be more of a tree form-ish. It's got this like pyramidal habit to it if you let it grow. Now, it can be pruned, don't get me wrong, but you're not going to keep it pruned down to 2 to 3 feet tall. Sorry, it's not happening. This plant gets bigger than that, and you need to treat it like that. So don't put it out in front of your boxwoods.
But there are varieties that will go in that spot that you're talking about out in front of some of the others. Not that particular one.
Yeah,
but
not this one. Not any mop cypress.
Okay.
There is no true dwarf that I've seen with that. Yeah, now there are dwarf conifers. Don't get me wrong, but they have different foliage. There's some golden juniper that will stay along the ground and even ground cover ish, if you will. But No, when it comes to gold mop cypress, there is not a true dwarf to this yet. Not that I've seen.
Okay.
So, like I said, don't. It's a misplanted plant. It's
I
not.
see it everywhere planted inside of other bushes now that they've grown up. Tyler sent a great photo to a little plant group thread that we have. It was a while back, but it was a good one. Somebody had planted it probably, I don't know, 20 years ago, 10. I don't know how fast they grow. And then it was growing into their house and taller than their roof.
Yes.
So.
They get very large. So, yeah, a good specimen plant. I know they're little 1 gallons now, so it'd be forever before they were a specimen. But you can buy them all the way up into a 6 gallon where they're much, much larger. And don't prune them. Let them just be. And they'll take that shape and just really, really be nice. There's a home in East Nashville, Joy, who's our perennial girl here. She sent us our group our group thread a picture of 2 gold mop cypresses that were planted either side of this person's porch, and they've grown up for a long time now, and they framed in the whole door.
Wow.
The perfect shape that you want, literally about 10 feet tall, easy 8 feet wide, 6 to 8 feet wide, and they were perfect. It's a perfect application for this plant, but like I said, not out in front of your other shrubs. So,
hey, speaking of
yes.
evergreens, we got a question on our Bates Facebook page. Lisa's asking, is it too late to plant evergreen trees?
negative.
No.
No.
Yeah.
It's great. Spring is great for planting almost anything. I mean, spring is when we want to plant. It's when we love to see plants. It's moist here in Middle Tennessee. It helps us out, you know. The only thing about planting this time of year is that as the summer draws on and we get into those horrible days of August when it gets hot and dry, you need to really keep an eye on the conifers. One thing about conifers versus broadleaf evergreens or broadleaf plants in general is that broadleaves will wilt on you. They'll kind of let you know when they're dry. Evergreens don't. They'll start turning brown, and they kind of keep turning brown. So you kind of want to make sure you don't
They get crispy as
They
time.
They
Yeah.
do. They don't let you know near as much. So planting in the spring is totally just fine, but do keep an eye on that weather as we get dry in the dead of the summer.
Yeah. All right, continue on with your tour.
A tour got pansies out in front.
Yep.
Gotta
That's
love them
right.
pansies. They're popping right now. All your pansies around town, I'm sure, starting to push again. They're looking really good right now. And then some nice Arizona cypress right over here. Very drought resistant, large growing tree. Another really good one for an evergreen screen, especially if you're in a dry spot. You know, the botanical name Cupressus arizonica, hence the name Arizona cypress. They like it nice and dry. They do not want a wet spot, so avoid that. But they will get every bit of 25 to 30 feet tall with an easy spread of 10 to 12 feet wide, if not more with age. So another good evergreen screen. Got all sorts of
Perfect.
stuff in here.
Very,
You
very.
do. There's a lot over there too.
Yeah, what do we have right here?
Ooh, you talking
What
about
is this?
talking about black mondo?
Yeah.
No.
Ooh, black
Let's-
mondo grass. That is a very Tyler. Hold that up. Let the people see. Actually,
Okay,
what we're
hold
talking
on, I
about.
can get one over
Yeah,
here.
go on and
Josh
get
got
it.
one. There it
Josh
is.
got one. That is black foliage. When do you see black foliage? Never. Hardly ever. That is a very shade loving plant. Okay, don't set it out there in the full sun and just fry it to death. It needs some kind of shade. It's a nice little understory. It pairs well with so many different things.
Right.
A nice front border shade plant. It pairs with, plant a gold mop cypress like I have out here, and then ring up black mondo around it. Great contrast. Cool little plant. You just don't see that color very often. So bouncing that white and that pink off of that dark foliage was a good choice.
Also, as
It looks
Josh is
good.
demonstrating, it feels pretty great to touch it.
It
too.
really
It
does.
does,
It has a really interesting texture to it. So.
It's a slow spread. It's a slow growing plant in general, so they're fairly pricey. Not gonna lie to you, you have to pay for those, but they're really cool in a shade little bed.
If you're interested in more of the tactile feel of plants, you might want to check out Ben Trest's webinar on sensory gardens. It's just delightful. He goes
And
into
so is Ben.
Yeah, he's delightful as well. He's a great instructor. He's probably taught almost half the webinars here at Bates.
But you have some webinars coming up next week, don't you, Tyler?
We have one coming up with our very own Caroline Gant.
Yeah, Ficus 101.
Oh wow!
Indoor.
That's
so
You're
indoor
gonna talk for
tropical.
2
fiddle
hours.
leaf, rubber tree. I mean, there's so many. People are always surprised at how many plants we have at Bates in the ficus family. And there's a lot of problems with them. Leaf dropping, leaf spotting, just general dying. And so
Oh, well.
we will be covering
Okay.
all the topics,
Yeah.
all the questions. And there's always a Q&A after. So if you sign up, tune in. We run it live, similar to how we're doing the at-home show. and then we'll open up for a Q&A so I can answer all of those questions you have about all your ficus.
And that's at basenursery.com.
Bates Botanical Boot Camp.
Yeah.
BNBBC.
Yep, you'll scroll down and hit the Register Now tab, and you can see the little calendar that pops up. We've got another one in there, too. At the end of the month will be the La Croix Q&A, which is just a free-for-all with me and Austin and Caroline, and we'll answer your wayward questions about anything, plants, etc., gardening. One other thing that I was trying to mention before my brain busted, that webinar next week is going to be Thursday at 9 a.m.
Thursday at 9.
March 24th.
Okay, so get in and register now. We're zooming through the show, so we better get back to some questions.
Wow.
If we
Yeah,
have
we
some
actually
more.
have
Yeah,
quite
10
a few
till. We gotta go.
questions.
Okay.
Here we go.
It's rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
Suggestions for an indoor green wall. So that's become really popular. I see it in bars around Nashville a lot.
What are you doing in bars?
Just going in to look at the plants.
Oh, okay,
You know,
okay.
I always
All
just
right,
go
all
in to check
right,
in on things, look at those plants, and then quickly leave. Again, they're really popular. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but I always suggest getting plants that are in the same family that have the same kind of care, lighting, water, because you're going to want to just have to generally water it instead of bring out each plant and water it for its specific needs. So either a leafy trailing wall, which would be philodendron, pothos, ferns would probably be okay mixed in with those. You don't want to get anything that's like a tree form because it's just going to grow straight out of the wall and then try to grow up. I mean, it could end up looking cool, but be a little bit strange. So trailers, climbers are going to be great. And then your other option would be more of a succulent wall. Echeveria, sedum, any kind of trailing string of dolphins, string of pearls would look absolutely wonderful. So the succulent wall would be a higher light, low water wall. And then the philodendron fern would be low light, higher water.
Now, when they put these on the wall, do they build a structure in front of the wall?
I've seen a lot of them.
Like
There's
rectangular, like planter type deals.
Yeah, well, they'll mount it to the wall, and then sometimes they do like a little trough that they'll plant directly in. Some people just keep them in the nursery pots and stick them in. There was a bar, I can't remember, it might be closed now, that had their outdoor patio was built out of pallets, like the wall, and they had like every other pallet a living wall, which was a great idea. I would do that if I had, the time to water all of that outside. But living walls are really cool. You can do them inside or outside. But again, you want to stick to plants that have similar needs. So, you don't end up getting one that's reaching for the sun while one's flourishing.
Very
but
good.
They're really fun and pretty. All right. Can sweet gums be sterilized so that it won't drop spiked gumballs on our lawn?
Wow.
I wish. You know how you sterilize a sweet gum tree?
Cut it down.
Cut it down. I'm sorry, y'all. But yeah, once you've got a big established sweet gum, it's going to produce fruit. The male and female flowers are both on the same tree of that plant, so they're going to produce that. Now, there are cultivars, at least one cultivar that I'm familiar with that is sterile. Rotunda loba is the...
That's a fun name.
It refers to the leaves. The leaves are a little bit more rounded, rotunda, so foliage rounded. That plant is supposedly sterile, so if you really like sweet gums, you can plant that one. We do sell that one here actually too. I don't know if I've got any right now, but we can find it. If you do want a sterile sweet gum, that is one you can use. But no, big established sweet gums, those are no way to sterilize, not that I'm aware of anyway.
Are you talking about Slender Silhouette, Austin?
No, negative.
No? What's that one then?
Slender Silhouette's just a very, very columnar sweet gum. It's very, very thin. It was introduced by one of our good Tennessee buddies out in Winchester, Don Shadow, in his nursery out there. I got to see a Slender Silhouette sweet gum growing, the very first one ever.
Wow.
Introduced by him when I toured his farm in college, actually. This was, 12 or 13 years ago. He had the very first one that he found. I don't know where he found it, in Japan or something
Wow.
crazy. This dude was a plant traveler. Really, really cool, interesting guy. But he's the one that introduced that plant, and now it's readily available everywhere, and it's just a very, very thin growing sweet gum. So another good application for down your driveway. If you like a thin growing plant, excellent for that.
For the locals tuning in, if you head up to the parking lot of the Kroger in Goodlettsville, you'll see some Slender Silhouettes growing.
It looks kind of, sweet gums kind of have a maple leaf. They got a very palmate, 5-lobe leaf. But if you see them growing extremely vertical, up to 25, 30 feet tall, that's a Slender Silhouette sweet gum. And we
That
sell
would be
full
a
of
great driveway plant
Yes.
as opposed to the...
Most definitely.
You're going to be muted.
Okay.
You can,
You better quit it right now.
All righty.
All right.
All right, let's get another question in.
Okay.
When can I move some of my plants onto my covered deck? They need to be outdoors. So this is a problem that I have all winter. I need to put plants outside because I've run out of space. I've actually moved plants onto my covered porch. And,
What?
Yep. I would say it's a little bit dangerous to move them out now. I usually suggest to our customers here at Bates Nursery to wait until temperatures at night stay in the mid 40s consistently. So you don't have to be moving them in and out. I do like to test the waters with my plants and just see what happens. So I've moved quite a few out. Less sensitive ones, those are still inside that have, new growth on them. My ficus are all still inside because they're starting to push with the days getting longer. But I've actually moved a lot of my cacti and ripsalis outside, and they're going to stay there. I'm not bringing them back in. And with the covered porch, they're a little more protected from frost. But if you are worried about your plants, I would keep them in for another month before you put them outside. But you can slowly bring them outside and inside to acclimate them. It's a good thing to do as well, so they start to get used to the temperatures outside and possibly getting hit with more sunlight and getting that fresh air. And then you can bring them in when it starts to dip. The temperatures start to go a little bit colder. I actually did a webinar on summarizing your house plants last year.
Ayo.
So another Bates Botanical Bootcamp plug. So if you want to learn more about that, getting your plants acclimated to the weather change, you can check out that webinar.
BNBBC.
That's
Always
right.
a way to go. Any more?
We do have some from last week that we didn't get to hit on. Let me get to them. Here we go. Seedlings are leggy. They are getting more light now. What will they do okay as they grow?
That was when we were talking earlier about that. It's probably the location of the grow light. I mean, if you get it up here, it's trying to stretch, and it needs to get a little bit closer to it, most likely.
Leggy seedlings are no good. They're no fun.
Nope.
But the biggest thing you need to know is, yes, more light, certainly more light, and then also watch your water. Do not keep them too wet or they will just die.
What about the heat mats underneath?
That helps.
Yep.
It never hurts, yeah. So a lot of light, not a ton of water. Only water when they need it.
All right. I think
good.
we can get one more in from
Okay.
last week. Are you selling any olive trees that will thrive in Nashville Zone 7? Yes, we are. That will thrive outside in a pot in the spring and summer and in your home in the winter. Now, we have had a few customers that have said they've had luck putting olive trees in the ground near their house on a south side where it's protected. It's getting a lot of light. But that's not guaranteed. If we get a big cold snap, it might take out that olive tree. So I suggest bringing it in the winter, but you can stick it outside all summer long. It's going to do great. You're going to get a lot of new growth. And then you have a nice plant that's going to help filter your air and just make you happy in the winter.
If you are a plant experimenter, though,
Yes.
put an olive in. If you're like out in East Nashville or something and you got a little microclimate going on, or where you stay a little warmer than most, and you want to test it, put that olive in the dirt, see what happens. I like to see that.
Yeah, you
saw
got a
that.
dryer vent exhaust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just rig that up to a bag, then bag up the olive. Boom.
Hey,
No,
I've
I'm
got a
just kidding. Don't
customer.
do that.
I've got a customer here that is one of
Dehydration
our regulars.
on the vine.
They like it dry.
Okay.
Yeah, one of our regulars here swears that his neighbor has an olive tree planted in her yard that has been living for years. He lives in East Nashville. Shout out Peloton Don. You know who you are. And he shops out here a lot with us. A really good customer, really cool guy. But he swears his neighbor has an olive tree that's planted outside. So, hey, give it a go. And, hey, while I'm shouting out,
Okay.
I've got to give a shout out to my girl, my daughter, my oldest daughter, Ivy Jo Lowen. 6 years old today, baby. March 19th.
All
6
these
years
March
ago.
babies in
birthday.
here.
Happy birthday.
Yep. So we're having a big party for her today. Unfortunately, I'm here, but
But you'll have
Not
fun
for
here. Then you
long.
get
it's
to
right. I'll get home to her. We're gonna have I'm gonna buy her a tree. That's what I do every year. We'll plant it together. So happy birthday, Ivy Jo. Hope you're watching. If you're not, I hope you're sleeping.
Don't be bothering mommy.
be good for
Okay,
mama.
the party's going to happen.
That's right.
All right, leave her alone.
Yeah.
All righty, folks. That's great. We've had a lot of fun today. We want to wish David all the good wishes.
Yes,
that we
get better,
can,
David.
because he's laying on his face because what are things going on with his eye and all this. It's really kind of gross to be truthful, but everything's good. He's a good guy, and he's scheduled to be back with us next week. And it's hard to keep that man down. He's not going to slow down for anybody.
Yeah, I was about to say, more than any other man I've ever met, he hates to be put down and not being active. So get better, David.
Yep, absolutely.
He said he'll be here next weekend. So
All
we
right.
will see
Yay.
him.
Now,
in
folks,
return.
if you see those Bradford pear trees and you have an opportunity to cut one, go ahead and do so. Grind the stump, burn it, destroy it. Just don't ever plant one. If you see one out in the wild, knock it down if you can. It's going to be a great thing to do. If you're clearing property, just take it down to the ground, get them all at the same time. They're going to come back, though, so dig them out.
Plant a real pear while you're at it.
There you go.
Two
real
of
pear
them.
trees. But folks, for everybody here, for Austin, Cary, and Tyler, my name's Josh. We're going to be here next Saturday with the Big D, and we'll be here for you for another hour of the At Home Show. We'll see you then from the Bates Nursery and Garden Center.